you've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. And as we have tried to come up with a strategy and a vision for Apple, it started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have, and then how are we going to market that. And I think that's the right path to take.
But I believe that if you can focus obsessively enough on customer experience, selection, ease of use, low prices, more information to make purchase decisions with, if you can give customers all that, plus great customer service, and with our toys and electronics, we have a 30-day return policy. If you can do all of that, then I think you have a good chance, and that's what we're trying to do. If there's one thing Amazon.com is about, it's obsessive attention to the customer experience, end to end, and that's what those distribution centers are.
But you're not a pure internet player.
It doesn't matter to me whether we're a pure internet player. What matters to me is do we provide the best customer service. Internet, schminternet, that doesn't matter.
I would submit that the number one characteristic in building a great, enduring brand in any business today is the currency of trust. Trust with your people, trust with your customers, and obviously trust with the shareholders. But in addition to that, I think the rules of engagement, especially for a bricks and mortar retailer today, as a result of the Amazon effect and e-commerce and mobile commerce, there are a lot less people physically shopping in the streets and in the malls in America and around the world today. So what does that mean? That means that every retailer must create a primary reason for their customers to come to their stores as opposed to just intercepting traffic. The experience that we create has to be multi-sensory, not only selling coffee, creating fantastic customer service, but also engaging the customer in an emotional way, both in our stores, in digital, and ways in which we can be as relevant outside of our stores as we are inside.
Before also that in your mind, 1, 2, 3 is customer,
yep,
employee,
and shareholder.
Yeah. So when you tried to borrow that $2,000, you didn't tell that person that he was number 3.
Well, the $2,000 was from my relatives, my parents, and all of friends I got $2,000. But when I raised my money for IPO, even for the when Alibaba IPO'd in the New York Stock Exchange, we raised $20 billion. I told the investors, we've been believing customer number 1, employee number 2, shareholder number 3. And people say this is against our American investor philosophy. I remember one of the investors said, hey Jack, if I know you are shareholder number 3, I would not have bought your stocks. I say, sir, please sell it. Because I believe there is so much money in the world, there are too much money in the world, but we only need the money who believe in our vision and mission. Because I believe if the customer are happy, employees are happy, the shareholders will be happy. But if the shareholders are happy, may not necessarily customer happy, and may not necessarily your employee will be happy.
But I actually believe that the most disruptive thing in the market today is not technology. I actually believe it's the customer. Because of all the things that are going on in their journey, because of all the things that they expect in their consumer lives, as well as in their business lives. We as consumers cannot leave that hat at the door when we show up for work. And so our expectations are this new blend between sort of B2C and B2B to kind of B to E, kind of B to everything, and B to the experience. Because I think you would be hard-pressed to think that you leave your consumer expectation at home when you try to do something from a business standpoint. So this disruption for me is all about the customer. If any of you have noticed over the last 6 months or so, when you watch television commercials, how much it's now about the experience. Car commercials. What are all the things you can do in the car? How wired is it? How many ports does it have? Does it have Wi-Fi? Does it have Alexa in it? Can it autonomously take you to Starbucks? Whatever. I'm not kidding. At the end of the day, brands are really starting to talk about the experience that people and customers will have with their company and no longer talking just about the products that they sell. So this new battleground has created, everyone's trying to say, who does a really good job?
Let's look first of all, what is a great organization? A great functioning organization. A great functioning organization, in my opinion, does 4 things. Number 1, what it does, it keeps the customer. It doesn't lose customers. Or customers, when I say customers, patrons, patients, doesn't matter what you call a guest. I may call it anything tonight. Of course, it's all the same. Those people that buy something from us. A company understands the worst thing you do, it costs more money to find a new customer than keep an old one, to keep one. The number 1 objective. If you walk into any one of my hotels, you ask any employee, go and ask a busboy, what is your objective here? The front desk, the cook, anybody, they will answer you to keep the guest. The objective is not checking people in, the objective is by checking them in to keep them. But objective is not to clean the tables, but by cleaning the table, the way they do it, the way they handle, to keep the guest. Number 1, a great organization keeps the customer, period. A great organization also does 3 more things, but those 3 things cannot interfere with number 1. Let's understand that. Number 2, of course, a great organization finds new customers, but mostly through the existing ones. Number 2. Number 3, what you do is get as much money from the customer as you can. We're in business, but incidentally, the loyal customers spends more, is willing to spend more, and buys more from you. So understand, keep the customer, get new ones, get as much money as you can, and then be efficient about it. And then, of course, and on all 4 subjects, you could make a long speech. I'm speaking mostly today about keeping the customer, because that is number 1. That's number 1 thing you do. And the other 3 things cannot interfere with number 1. So keeping the customer. So how do we keep the customer? That's the issue. Those are the discussions we have to have. How do we keep the customer? Well, we keep the customer by doing for the customer what the customer wants. That's simple. And on. That sounds simple, but it's not happening. It's not happening on there. Companies do what they think they should do for the customer, rather than understanding what the customer wants and doing for the customer, and doing for the guest, doing for the patient, doing for the client what the customer wants. So what do they want? How do I know what they want? Well, there are 3 things the customer wants, that every customer wants, no matter what you buy, no matter what you purchase, services, products, it doesn't matter. You, the consumer, wants the same thing. Now, so if I know those 3 things everybody wants, well then, I better have processes to deliver that, and have an attitude to deliver that. Besides those 3 things, the individualized expectation. Besides those 3 things, what everybody then has individual demands. If I deliver those individual demands also, I have a great product. Now, what you want to do is create that customer loyalty that I talk about. Keep the customer. We have to understand, what is customer loyalty? What's the meaning behind it? If you study it, and we have analyzed that, believe me, it has all been verified very scientifically, what I tell you. Customer loyalty means nothing but the customer, if you're loyal to a company, you have developed trust in that company and its product. You have developed trust. That's why you're loyal. It's trust in the product and in the people of that organization. So, with other words, you want to create trust. So how am I going to create that trust? Well, again, you give the guest, the customer, what they want. So what is it they want? You give them those 3 things. If you give those 3 things that I'm going to give you, if you give them consistently all the time, after a while, the customer will develop trust. If you give him those three things, plus individualize the service to that customer, then the trust comes much faster, very fast. So there's two ways of creating trust. The third way of creating trust is by excellence in problem resolution. I will touch on those three things. So, what is it they want? Let's stay with that first. You want three things if you buy anything at all. You wanted the product to be defect-free, the perceived product. Number two, what you want is timeliness. You want it when you want it, not when they decide to give you. And timeliness, incidentally, is of extreme importance today. So, no defect, timeliness. And the next thing that you expect, you want that bottle of water when you want it. You want a defect. And you want the people that give it to you to be nice to you. Wow, and that piece is called service. That piece of being nice is called service. We call it service. It's being nice, delivering it in a nice way, caring way. Let's talk about that piece, because that's the piece, ladies and gentlemen, don't argue it in your mind. That's the piece that drives loyalty much faster than the other two pieces. So the caring piece is truly the one that drives satisfaction more than anything else. So we will talk in a moment how caring, but let me give you one more story about this caring. And mind you, that caring piece delivered by service. What is service? By the way, how you define service. All those companies that advertise and talk about the service, go and ask any of the employee how you define it. It's nothing. Services, it must mean something. So if I don't know, really, I can't define it, I can't process it. But I have to process, make sure it happens. So what is service? Service starts a certain time. It starts the instant when the customer perceives that they have made contact with you. It doesn't start 3 seconds later. When do they feel they have contact with you? In our business, the actual customer, you the guest, you perceive, if you know it or not, subconsciously, that within 12 feet that you made contact with us, with the human being. But you perceive that you made contact with the moment when you see the sign that, there's the hotel. In that moment, you make contact. So that's the first step of service. In the human sense is, hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. Every time a customer asks for something, that's your opportunity to convince them to keep on dealing with you. It's not your opportunity just to do something, it's your opportunity. This is my chance to convince him, her, to deal with me. Welcome. And then the complying, the caring complying, the showing that we actually like to do, that actually we want there to help you. That's with the eyes, with the words, with the behavior. I'm here for you. Welcome, I'm here for you. I'm happy to do that. My pleasure. And the third step of service is saying, thank you for allowing us to serve you. Thank you for allowing us to work with you. Have a nice day. It's goodbye, with other words. Welcome, comply, goodbye. That's really what we're doing all day long in any business. In any different forms, obviously, but it's really what we're doing in any business.